Hola, buen camino, day 33. A bit late doing my video this morning. We've already been walking for 2.5 hours up a hill. We set off when it was dark. And we're going to a place called Cruz de Ferro, which is on top of one of the hills, higher than the Pyrenees. But we did start off higher than we did then. And we're nearly there, actually. I'll show you a picture when we get there. And sorry, I'm watching the path while I'm talking to you. That's why I'm not looking at the camera. So, Cruz de Ferro is where pilgrims carry a stone or something from home and leave it there. And it's a symbolic place, and I'm told a very spiritual place as people think about burdens and kind of pray over them and lead in there. I got my stone from Broadbottom, where I used to live with my mum, and it represents to me a burden I've been carrying a long time, but I still feel like I've got stuff to work out on the way. We've 14 more days after this walk until we get to the sea. So I'm not going to leave mine here, actually. I'm going to carry on working through some stuff. Some stuff I've made some great progress on. We're not quite there yet, so I'm just not ready to put some of this thinking to bed yet. Anyway, there's loads of people here doing it. I'll show you shortly. Have a great day. Buen camino. This is one of the famous places on the Camino. If you've watched The Way, you'll have seen them walking past this sign with all the signs of different places on it. And this is just before we do the climb to the steepest bit, or the highest bit of the Camino. So listen, I just want to tell you, this stuff on the ground, it is impossible to walk on. If you are used to walking in the lakes, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is taking us absolutely ages, and it's 26 degrees, probably 28 by now. Hello and welcome to the end of day 33. We're in a lovely place called Molinaseca, I think it's called, in a nice hostel. It's got, I think it's maybe got 6 rooms or something like that. Just sat on the balcony, have a look at the hills. Today was so tough. It was 16 miles, so doable mileage. But the first 9 miles was, well, the first 4.5 was uphill, and it went down a bit, and then it went uphill again. That was all right actually. Then we started coming down, and yeah, that was tough. It was tough. I've posted already in this video a little video showing you the terrain. Basically came down 900 meters. So what I say to my dad about these things is, you know, when we're talking about it, he's like, oh, it's not that high. I'd say it's 250 meters. I'm like, do you know how far 250 meters is? Now put that up in the sky and see how high we've got to climb. Well, same logic, right? Look, think about 900 meters, nearly a kilometer, and then point that down from the top of a hill across 6 miles and see how steep it is. And it was steep, folks. There were parts of the path that were okay, but whenever it got steep, it got really rocky. Because, as you already know, I'm clumsy, I fall over a lot, I've got very weak ankles. I had to take it really slowly. So the whole day took us, I think it was over 9 hours to get down. And 4 of that was doing about 6 miles, I think. So it was super hard. And I did nearly lose my temper at the bottom. As we were just nearing the road, I thought, oh, that's it, it's amazing, it's done. The path took us uphill. I'm like, you've got to be kidding, why are you taking me uphill again? I mean, all of these paths kind of run adjacent to the road, because I suspect the original way of St. James, the way that St. James went, was probably on the road, right? But there are thousands of people walk this path every year. And that reminds me, actually, Jackie, you asked me a question, how busy is it? Because it always looks dead quiet. Depends, actually. Sometimes it can be really busy. I think the variables are if you set off when everyone else is setting off, or if you're particularly slow. And there are kind of people who set off before dawn, like we do sometimes. There are people that set off when it's light but before breakfast, and there seems to be people who set off after breakfast, and there seems to be another load of people that set off when their accommodation kicks them out, which is usually by 10 at the latest, I reckon. So there's kind of waves of people that are going along. Some days we don't see anybody at all. Other days, like today, we kept passing the same people and they kept passing us. And at some points that I could probably see about, not a lot, maybe 15 people in front of us. But as we got to the end of the afternoon and we were going really slow down, I think I saw 2 or 3 people pass us, that was it. So if you've got a 15-mile path, I suppose, and a 4-hour start window, say between 6 and 10, then people are going to spread out. That said, next week we go to a place called Sarria, and that's 100k to the end, and that's the minimum that the church say you have to do to be able to get the Compostela, to get the certificate to say you've done it. You've got to collect 2 stamps at every day that you're doing that distance between Sarria to show that you did it all. And then when you get to the end in Santiago, you get your certificate. And there are loads of people that just do that bit. So I expect when I take pictures next week after Sarria, you'll see people in all the pictures, because it apparently is chock-a-blocker. But also what they've said, what I've seen people say in the past about that is, if you want to avoid the crowds, walk later on in the afternoon, because a lot of them are booked with tour companies that are bussing the bags, and they've got bed, breakfast and evening meal booked. And so what happens is they get picked up off the path for lunchtime and then taken to a nice restaurant for lunch, and then they rest in the afternoon. So if you want to miss all the crowds on that Sarria bit to Santiago, walk later on. I'm not a fan of walking later on, as you know. I'd rather get up and get it done. But yeah, I'll let you know how busy it is next week. Ordinarily, it's quiet enough to feel like you've got the place to yourself most of the time. Cool, right, well, so I'm off because we've got 20 miles to do tomorrow. I'm hoping to leave at 6 and crack on and get that done before the rain, because it's due to rain at 3 o'clock where we're going. So we've got 9 hours to do 20 miles. So fingers crossed we'll get some good time if there's paths, pavements, things like that. Anyway, I'll speak to you tomorrow. Buen Camino.